Welcome back. This is Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV. Today's topic of discussion is the impeachment move from court against President Uhuru Kenyatta. And so speaking for the move is the MP from Ruaraka, TJ Kajwang. Speaking against it is the MP, the independent MP from Buri, Kinoti Gatobu. We talked quite a bit about, you know, how the president behaved and whether he should have come out and said, can't pay, won't pay. But what about the numbers, Mr. Kajwang? You don't have numbers.
Article 145 of the Constitution demands of the member moving the motion of impeachment to get the motion signed by at least 1/3 of the membership of the House. That in the present National Assembly would come to around, say, 117 or so members signing the notice of motion of impeachment. When that motion is underway before the House, the motion is passed when 2/3 of the House agrees that the president should be impeached, and therefore other motions.
That's 233 MPs.
Yes, that is it.
Which
that
you can't find.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, take me at steps, because I'll tell you why we will find.
Okay.
We are in the process of explaining ourselves to the nation.
But not very well.
We are in the process of explaining ourselves to my friend who is an independent mind.
Right.
And I want to tell you that things have changed, if you do not know. That we have really largely crossed the ranks in the National Assembly. People talk about this thing called the tyranny of numbers. First of all, I want to make a very serious issue here. That, you know, we discuss about this tyranny of numbers and glee about it. We are happy about it. It is something that should
referring
make
to
us
the fact
frown.
of the governing side has more numbers than you do.
In fact, that concept of tyranny of numbers or more numbers than we have is something that should make us mourn. Because it is not about the numbers. It is about how a member is able to exercise himself on an issue before him. Not because I am in Jubilee or in court. I can be in court and Raila Odinga says something, I should beg to disagree if I do not agree with it. This is the kind of culture that we need to create in our political space. But
independent thinking.
I will tell you.
But are you getting those
wait for this motion to come and you will see the people who will sign it.
Maybe.
Of course.
Speak for the independents then.
Before you speak, I will tell you the kind of people who will sign this. Of course, you will expect court members
to sign it. Okay, but you're guaranteed the 117 signatures you need for the motion, but you're not guaranteed the 233.
I am telling you that with the understanding that is coming in the National Assembly, watch this space.
Okay, what's your understanding then?
I like the point you put across, that they can get the numbers if they put their case strongly. But the reason why I think they have no chances at all is because the case they're trying to put forward doesn't hold water to anyone, including myself. Because this is not the first standoff we've had in Parliament for the last 2 years. I think actually I was the author of the first standoff. In the month of June, that was 2013, I moved the first motion in Parliament regarding education, and it was seeking the government to commit to support the orphans of this country who don't get to complete secondary education. And the motion was unanimously passed. In fact, it was seconded by Honorable Jakoyo Midiwo, and the motion passed. When the motion was funded to the Ministry for execution, the ministry could not afford it because the number of orphans in this country was too high. So we negotiated with the ministry. I sit in the Ministry of Labour and Social, in the Committee of Labour in Parliament, and we said, since we can't afford to sponsor all the orphans, why don't we begin a fund that caters for the orphans in every constituency? And we set aside a fund of 1.4 million per constituency for the very vulnerable children to support their education. So it was a matter of negotiation and understanding. There was the issue of VAT. When the VAT was increased on educational materials, and we saw we've pushed the cost of education in this country to a level that cannot be afforded, we negotiated with the government. What can we do to make free primary education? Because the money has not increased, but VAT has been put on essential commodities. So we increased the free primary allocation by 30%. So really code coming across and saying, because we must pay teachers, which I strongly support, because my background actually is teaching, and even my parents were teachers and all that, I support the teachers must be paid. But really that doesn't guarantee that we must impeach the president on those bases. So I don't believe the case for CORD can hold water anywhere. And they're just taking the country in circles, because deep within their heart they know there's a way we can solve this thing through Parliament. There's a way we can sit down as leaders and see what adjustments can we make in the budget, how, and most important, which is my baseline of this argument, how can we grow the economy to accommodate these obligations that we must meet in the long run.
Mr. Kajwang, what would you say to the comment that CORD is rabble-rousing? We saw this with the Okoa Kenya referendum movement, and that it's trying to use shortcuts to power. It's not interested in governing the country or growing the country, but it is interested in getting to State House.
Well, I've had comments including the fact that this is just for political mileage. We are trying to be relevant and so on. Well, first of all, let me tell you honestly, this is the business that we are in. As opposition, we are politicians, and our role is the loyal opposition, that we are able to bring the government to check, and that we are the watchers of the voiceless. So if in the course of doing what we do, we get some political mileage, so be it. That is really our business. But I'll get you, just 1 minute, I'll let you know this, that the issues we are troubling ourselves are not issues of rabble-rousing. We are fundamental constitutional issues that we as a nation decided to go. There cannot be any development in this country. Nothing will have in those economic figures that we are talking about without the rule of law. There will be anarchy in this part of the world, you know, unless we are going to accept that we are moving away from partisan political bickering and addressing the issues before us. Because, you know,
which CORD is not doing.
Members of the Fourth Estate,
for instance,
every time we rise to say something, you make it a CORD affair. Every time Kajwang says something, instead of looking at the issues that I am bringing, CORD is just bringing issues.
TJ help us to help you. And one thing would work, I think we need to tell TJ. He's saying that in Parliament, they hope that people will be independent. Kajwang knows that he is not independent.
Sure.
And nobody is independent in that Parliament. Again, if you are going there thinking that members of Parliament will be independent enough, it means even without the tyranny of numbers in Jubilee, if members of Parliament are to be that independent, you're also going to lose some members of Parliament. Apart from your small numbers, you lose even some who are independent.
It's give and take, we lose, and they'll also lose. We'll take a bit from them.
That's why I don't agree with you when you say that this Parliament is working. We have always seen that Parliament, members of Parliament not thinking. The thinking is for Uhuru, for Jubilee and Ruto. The thinking for CORD is Kalonzo and Raila Odinga.
I beg to differ.
No, just a minute. Let me put it this way. Kajwang is not in that Parliament to advance what he thinks. He is there to advance what the CORD leader thinks. And Kajwang cannot go against what Raila says. And the same thing to those other parties. I'm telling you, not unless you who is independent. And that's a fact we have said.
No, let me defend myself.
So
this is fairly direct.
Jubilee, let me finish, Kajwang. And that's why I would like members of Parliament to be independent, because that day I'll see you voting and saying, CORD wants to impeach Uhuru, but I'm not supporting them because I don't think it is right.
Okay.
How many of those in CORD can do that?
Well, first of all, let me take that criticism with a pinch of salt. Whether or not we speak for this other side of the divide, my personal contribution in the National Assembly is there in the public, and people can scrutinize. I am there every day and people know what I do there. But let me tell you that I think it is a harsh criticism for both sides of the divide. I know that there are a lot of members who are in that house who really take time to do their research. They really take time to be passionate about what their people say. They really try to bring out those issues. Of course, when I advance the position of CORD, I'm not advancing the position of Raila Odinga. I'm advancing the cause of my party, the opposition party, which is a general movement. We have agreed that there is a manifesto, and I proceed from that manifesto. It could coincide with what Raila says, but it is not Raila's thought. So really, and I know that my very good gentleman on the other side must be advancing their theory from some manifesto that advances the Jubilee government. So it is really not Uhuru or Ruto who thinks for us. If they were thinking for us, there are a lot of things that we have said which goes against what.
But on important issues like impeachment, Kajwang, I know you agree on some things like when you want to increase your pay, you cross ranks.
Yes.
But we are talking about we are not talking about your pay increment. We are talking about a country. The impeachment of a head of state has a tremendous impact on a country. But not when you cross ranks on small issues I know you do that on a daily basis.
You're very critical of the parliament this morning.
I'd like to hear from the MP from Buri, because in addition to the teachers' strike, courts say that President Kenyatta has failed to protect the country, to secure the country. They also say there's a precedence of weakening constitutional organs. Right. Do you think that holds water?
Before I answer that, if you could allow me to make a point regarding what TJ is saying. We sat in a meeting somewhere with TJ, lobbying for a very noble project of this country. Unfortunately, it has been affected by some corruption here and there, the issue of NYS. And when we sat with TJ to lobby for resources for our constituencies, he was very supportive of the idea, because it's a massive project where the NYS employs around 1,000 youths in the constituency, and almost 500 women groups women in form of women groups to cook for them. So it's an economic system that they make millions of shillings per day. But when CORD came firing on the project and criticizing it, I expected to see TJ come out and say, see, this project is benefiting my constituents and we've lobbied for it. Why don't we see where the errors are and correct them? But I've never seen him stand out and say, I have 1,000 youths in my constituency of Ruaraka employed under the program. I host the NYS headquarters and we're benefiting from it. That's why I think he's rather insincere in saying he protects the... Because what NYS has done in my constituency, for instance, it employed 1,000 youths who are doing the largest water project in Meru County. It's called Kirwa Bore Water Project, from the Mount Kenya forest, coming down with a 28-inch pipe, which is meant to irrigate around 90% of my constituency. And every day they are paid close to $1 million in terms of the youths and the women who cook for them. And when people think of there's corruption and we stop the entire system across the country, we are rendering thousands of youth jobless just because someone in head office has stolen some money. We as politicians should discuss the real issues, which I think CORD is not doing. How do we correct the system whereas sustaining the prosperity of the country? Because CORD is very insincere, starting with TJ here. I've told you what NYS has done for our constituency, but he doesn't defend it. He comes out firing the other CORD members.
In fact, hearing my friend speak about this has reminded me of an important thing that I wouldn't leave this studio without saying. This issue of impeachment does not just end with the teachers' issue. This thing has to do with what in Article 134C says gross misconduct. The President has, in many
You're talking about the President, but there's a direct challenge to you.
Yes,
as NYS benefited your constituency.
I'm going back there. Yes, there is the NYS project, but you need to split the NYS project into two issues. You want to talk about NYS as a process, and you want to also talk about NYS as a policy. As a policy, it is the best thing that has happened over the years. In fact, this is not Uhuru's child. This thing came in the...
No, we're not mentioning names here. Has it benefited your constituency?
No, don't put me there, because I know how to get out of it. The thing is, as a policy, it's the best thing that has ever happened to this country, because it is employing the youths of this country.
And the point he's been making is that you haven't said this before.
No. Well, I have not yet got the opportunity to say it.
Really?
Today I'm saying it. But the thing is that, yes, people have benefited. Young people are being employed. People are having some activity to do. In my constituency, which is the hotbed of all the young people in this in this town, I mean, people are going about their business. But that does not stop me from telling the country where corruption is embedded in that system. And that, Amimo, this is where I come, that the President will have to show, when we go tomorrow in National Assembly, that the President, by shielding that cabinet secretary, who everybody has roundly said that there are issues that should be investigated, by shielding him is an act of gross misconduct. In fact, he has violated the law.
Shielding her.
I think you need to
Shielding
tell,
her.
you need to
Shielding
tell
her,
TJ
Shielding her.
is on national television.
Right.
You cannot run away from issues. And I think what Honorable Gatovu has raised is very important. That Kajuang, we have members of parliament in this country who, in private, when they are in Kaspul Kabondo, they will say one thing, but when they appear in Nairobi in a press conference, they say another. And we are saying, you know, he is saying that you went to lobby to get money from NYS
for our constituency,
for your constituency, but when you now get to the podium at Uhuru Park and other places, you say that NYS is useless and all that. That's what the problem we have in this country. Where in private you say one thing, but when you get to the public, you say a different thing.
Well, just to help you, we have never lobbied for anything. I don't think my friend would say that we have lobbied. What we have happened is NYS was given to us as a package. It has benefited my people, and I have been in several meetings in which we have given proposals on how it can help better. That will never stop me when people steal from it, that therefore I would have to go just because my people are benefiting, that millions and billions that are being pilfered from that policy that I cannot talk about.
Okay, so you're looking for numbers from people like Mr. Gatobu here, URP. Do you hear anything that would convince you and various others? We have, what, 54, more than 50 small parties, and you're trying to raid the governing party's numbers. Do you hear anything that would convince you to go and speak to other parties?
Personally, I don't. And the main point here being, the issue they are putting across for impeaching the president are issues which we can solve as a parliament, as a government. And I've given instances how we can solve them, like the motion I moved regarding support for orphans. The government could not afford, but we sat down and agreed with the minister what can be done. The issue of VAT, we agreed on items that can be excluded. And I've given a very perfect example of the motion that was moved by the ODM chairman on Abumbandi. And we as Jubilee, as independents and Jubilee, all of us supported the motion. Fishing nets were exempted from VAT. These are solutions God has brought and we've embraced them. Why can't they seek a solution to this instead of taking the entire country into a phase that should not be in?
Okay, and so we'll explore that after the break. No, we have to explore that after the break. We're taking a break now. This is Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV. Our SMS number is 22422, and you can tweet us using the handle Cheche.